Bonsoir, it is Douglas coming to you from Cape Town today. Today we are talking to Josee and Tania in Montreal. Hello guys. How are you? Yes, I planned that. You're shaking your head, Josee. How are you on this wonderful day?
I'm great. I'm enjoying this. The light load of work. I have time to do what I want to do, which I never did before. So I'm doing great.
So this really odd environment is serving you.
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
We discuss it regularly, and we just get happier and happier.
Now tell me more about that, because it's so interesting hearing you guys say that when so many people are flipping their lids the other way and stressed. And explain this happiness.
Who are you asking, me or Josee?
Well, flip a coin. Since you both said you were happy, go.
I'll go. You know, when you work 6-7 hours a day, constantly, 5 days a week, it gets its toll, and you think you have to keep on going. But what this year has shown me is that if I work a day and a half, 2 days, there's still food in the fridge. But the bonus is there's time for me. So I think, to me, it's better in that respect, that it showed me that, wow, how did I manage to do this constantly without a break?
Let me see. Now that's huge, because that's basically saying taking an adverse environment and actually finding the benefit and making it work for you.
It's sad that it needed a pandemic. You know, you think over the years that you would learn all of this, you know, but it just, I don't know. I guess I took the time. I had to stay still, and it's, wow, this is really nice. Definitely beneficial. And I'm sure Tania is going to say the same.
Tania, what was your experience? Why are you so happy with what's been going down?
So our first official lockdown was 3 months, right, Josee? Like officially it was about
3-4 months.
Yeah. So I was like Josee, just running around, just working all the time, but then you have other things to do, but you push them back somewhere behind your life. So it's like you can't catch up on life. So when the lockdown started, I was like, woohoo, I'm having a paid vacation, because on top of that, the government was giving us money to stay home, right? I mean, come on, this is already a blessing. So I said, I want to finish everything.
That's cool. So just understand that that you have obviously a great government then.
So why not enjoy it?
Yeah, for sure.
So first I decided to catch up on things that I haven't had time to do. So I started kind of renovating my house, but I started doing big projects that I would have never started otherwise.
Because you just
it was huge. Pardon me?
Because you just wouldn't have had the time.
Exactly. So it was physical work, which I enjoyed. And I was just, every day I was improving my life a little bit, right? Then I started organizing stuff. I had never time, like my pictures, my files, whatever, that takes time. Then I said, woohoo, this is good. So at the end of the day, you're tired. So you deserve like one episode on Netflix of something, right? It's not like all day and then you hate it. At the end, it's like, great, I deserve that.
But isn't it also nice, Tania, when you have a project like this and you actually get to tick and say it's done?
Mm-hmm.
Because there is something that,
yes.
that therapists and trainers do not fully understand. You never get that completion. You get to say, tick, I saw the client.
Yes.
But
yes.
When you build something, the joy when it's finished, when you filed and tidied and you get to go tick, we never get that sense of completion. So you get to have a something that's actually a human need, because it validates the effort we're putting in, because your client coming back and saying, oh, wow, that was really cool. What else can we do? They're validating you, but it doesn't hit that place inside us that goes, done. So we're never done.
Mhm.
That's why we're always running, always kind of going, oh, all right, I'll say yes to that client. I don't really want to, because somewhere in our brain, we need that tick, that validation, but our work doesn't give it to us in the way that we're almost wired to get it. Huh. I'm so
Yeah.
glad to get
So
this
then
conversation.
I said to myself, like, I need to improve myself too, not only my house, right? So then I started biking for about an hour and a half every day. And I mean, it keeps getting harder and harder. Then I started meditating. And then it takes time to take care of yourself too, right? So you get like really busy. And actually, Jose and I were discussing before we started working. We're like, I so don't want to start. So then we started with quite limited amount of clients, because Jose is going to tell you about her clients, but I started working with basically the clients who needed me so badly that they would have been in wheelchairs by now if we didn't work. So they're also the safest ones. Like, they have whatever medical condition, this, that. So I know they're safe, because
so they actually have to do all the things right, because otherwise they're putting themselves in harm's way.
Exactly.
Yep.
Mhm.
So basically, I chose to be safe and work with few people.
Yeah.
But then also you have the peace of mind. So now I work half days most of the time, and then again I have the afternoon for me. Yoo-hoo. So,
Oh, we lost you there.
Yes.
Oh, you're back. So Tania, actually, for both of you, do you know that your story is not dissimilar to mine?
Oh,
Except
do tell.
this story happened 18 years ago. So I had 3 practices. I'd open one, then my brain said, you need another, and then you need another. And I was lecturing on the weekends. I think at that point I was teaching for Reebok. And I had a whole lot of stuff going on in my world. My father had passed away a year and a bit before, and I hadn't had time. And then I burnt out. And I had to close it all, shut it down. I couldn't see a client. I was exhausted, broken. And I started doing something else, which was this electromagnetic mattress thing called the Beamer. And I was running programs for doctors, realized I could talk to pretty much anyone about, I was learning a different level of physiology. But before Amy and I got married, I realized this wasn't quite kind of the place to be. So I got back into a practice. And I was actually gifted, because the guy who owned the space, I went to go talk to him about something, and he said, and only if you help that lady over there will I talk to you. And I said, no, I don't do that anymore. He said, I know who you are. I need you to do that. And then I'll have the conversation, because I was going to sell him something. And so I quickly helped this lady with her tennis elbow. She's like, oh, he said, I know who you are, and you need to get back to work. And behind my kitchen, this is a little little health shop. Behind my kitchen, I have a really small treatment room, and you can have it for free. But the deal is that if you can't make it work in 2 weeks, I'm going to kick you out. So he was amazing, because what he did is he gave me an opportunity, and then he basically said, I'm going to take it away from you. And I just went, of course I'll make it work. And I stepped in without even thinking I was about to get back into treating. And I started working Mondays, Wednesdays, and half day Friday. And you know what? BeActivated was developed on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Friday afternoon. Why? Because I had the time. And I had the time to think, I had the time to look after me. And the irony, and this is the biggest irony in all of this, 3 practices, 3 overheads. 1 practice, tiny little room, no waiting area, no nothing. There was 1 chair, a tiny desk, and a treatment table. I couldn't walk around because the treatment table was against the wall. But in that little tiny room in Health for Life, and the guy's name was Alan Sakonovsky, and I am so forever grateful to Alan for pressing my buttons and manipulating me, because he was very good at that. into a place that served me so good. But Monday, Wednesday, half day, Friday. And in that room, I saw athletes, I saw CEOs of huge companies, and nobody went, gosh, this is a shitty little space, because they didn't care. What they cared about was the results. And actually BeActivated as it started there, because it was my space. I had the time to think, time to play, and that's where it began. So yeah, 18 years ago, through a different type of thing, major catastrophe, I was put into a space because there was no way in my mind I could picture myself working 5 or 6 days a week again. And so I didn't. And that's not changed. You know, I think I've got to say that this last year and a half or whatever, I've worked harder than I've ever worked before, because I can switch on and go, like, do a trip. I'm coming to Chicago and Montreal. So you guys have organized a workshop in Montreal. I'm down with Eric and Joanne, and we're doing stuff there. I know I'm getting on a plane, brain switching on, and I'm going to go there, go to you guys, fly home. So it's almost like I'm on, and then I know I'm off. Now it's different because it's online and it's dum, 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 and it feels like it's a 24-hour thing. So it's a different discipline, it's a different way. But it's one of those things that, and you guys, just if anyone's not sure, you guys have done so many programs with me in so many different locations. That I'm almost sure that you've heard the story about Monday, Wednesday, half day, Friday, and probably if you did,
no,
it just went over your head because it didn't fit your reality. Because if something that somebody shares doesn't fit your reality, it goes straight over your head.
Interesting, indeed.
How many different locations have you traveled to do this weird and
I
wonderful?
mean, we stopped when you put a restraining order at one point.
We did.
But you didn't understand it was only in one country.
We did what? We did London. We did Ireland, London a few times. We did Chicago, Montreal. So I think we did. I think I did 8 times level 1.
Excellent.
Well,
At least,
same here.
and
we
probably
did them all
7, 8
together.
times.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
We did them all together, so same thing. London, we've done 2 or 3 times.
And actually, if I'm right, you just use me as an excuse to travel.
Well, it's called travel expenses.
I tried so hard to come to South Africa, and you didn't let me. I'll always keep a grudge. Only physios were allowed for that workshop.
No, we'll get there one day. So if someone either hasn't done the work before and is considering it, or are you guys that slow, that stupid, that you have to come on a level 1 8 times? And I know level 2's 100 other times too. Why would you keep coming back for the same frigging thing?
Never the same thing. Never, ever the same thing.
I don't understand. Help me understand.
So I look at this as kind of like your client. Even if you see the client over and over, I never look at the client as the way they were the last time. To me, it's always a blank canvas. That's the way I approach this. And the level 1
sounds a bit like Alzheimer's.
Yeah. But I find every level 1, I have learned something. Because you're removing layers of acceptance maybe in yourself, where you're not looking the same way at the level. There's always something new, and always little innuendos that I missed that, or wow, that reinforced what I've been finding out. Or so that's the way, and I'll keep on taking them. Maybe depends where they are.
As long as they're far enough away.
Yes.
Well, we were trying to organize Montreal again, and then all the world went weird and wacky. So, you know, when we can, we will.
And we'll be there.
Yay.
How about you, Tania?
So I think it's the point that you made before. It's your understanding is different every time you take it. So even though it might be even the same course, but the first time you understand one thing and then you build on top of it. So if you're not ready for it, you won't hear it or you won't understand it. So every time you take level 1, you just understand it a lot better. So you're building on something. It's not like you take it once and you understand it all.
Yeah, and I think that's the hardest thing to convey to somebody, is that although we make the techniques very robust and fairly simple, there's an immense amount of complexity that's behind all of it, and you can't be expected to see it all first time you see it. So you can see what your capacity allows you to see, and as your capacity expands and as your experiences expand, you can see more. And sometimes it's like, even if you like, I've had people give feedback about the online programs that, hey, I watched this section 4 times. The first time I got this, the second time I suddenly got that, the third, and you're watching the same video. But so exactly the same thing even happens with the online content, is that there's so many things to pick up. You can't be expected to pick it all up.
Exactly. And I think probably the first time is crucial because in a way it changes how you see things. So the first time is kind of the warm-up. And then you slowly start understanding.
For some reason, I want to say the first one is the slap with the cold big fish.
That too. Yes.
I don't know why that picture came into my head. I've never thought of it that way, but that's what came up.
I like that visual.
So, Josee, was the first one that you did was the one you organized in Montreal?
Yes,
that's the first one you guys did.
I had seen you. You go through articles on the web and click here, click there, and then you appeared. And I did do your DVD. I had looked at the DVD before the course. Hence, that's why I wanted you in Montreal. So yes, the Montreal one.
Cool.
Was my first one.
So how does it change what you do?
For me, because I do a lot of post-rehab, because we're not allowed to say rehab here, and sports specific, there was always a link missing. You can fix a squat, but the patterns are just come back and come back. So for me, it was the missing link. And now that's all I use, really. All my clients, my new clients, have to have sessions of activation. Otherwise, I will not work with them. And when they see the benefits and when they see how better they feel and they perform, then they start maybe trusting it. But I do have relationships with osteos, with doctors actually, that are happy with what I'm doing post operation. So I guess my practice is becoming just bigger and bigger, and loving it. And I think that's training people just for weight loss is just not something I want to do anymore. It's boring.
Well, I think one of the things that came up in the interview that I did earlier was, everyone's been in this world of everything out there. Hey, look at me out there. Look at what I have. Look at what I do. And so the term was like everything was an outward in, which is an imploded state, where and weight loss actually most of the time falls into that. I've got too much weight because people are looking at me funny. I'm not doing the weight for me. I'm doing it for them. Whereas when you switch the game and you're starting to take someone inside to find their real drivers, their real motivation, it becomes much more interesting. So you find that instead of dealing with weight loss, you're actually dealing with a human being having human problems, human challenges. And, that for me is what keeps me coming back, because there's something just beautiful in watching someone recognize or discover that something that a moment before was impossible, that I just can't do that. Suddenly they go, oh, I can do that. I might not be able to do it well yet, but I can do it. So it's that shifting from the world of what's impossible to something that's now possible. And now the goal is just to get better at it.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
And I have to say as well, what you made me realize, I guess, over the years is that I'm a perfectionist. It has to work. People have to feel better. People have to lose weight. And now I realize that, hey, if the person inside themselves are not interested in achieving those goals or putting in the work, then I say, okay, goodbye. I don't want to work hard anymore, as you know, and I've heard you say that so many times.
Yeah,
it's too hard now.
They're actually two beautiful elements there, Josee. And the first one is, my success cannot be tied into you as a client, because otherwise I do the work for you. So if I'm only successful if you lose weight, but you leave our session, you go eat 50 donuts, that's out of my control. So therefore, that letting go of that is important, but also letting go of the clients that are going to go and eat the donuts straight after the session, because all that's going to do is it's going to undermine the value that you can bring to other clients who are waiting to meet you, need what you've got. That's awesome. And there's a thing about being almost clear on the value that you bring and the identity of who you are in order to do that. Because a lot of people go, oh, but you can't do that. What if they don't like you? What if they all leave? Well, then you might not be doing a good job. But if you are doing a good job and if you are adding value to people, no matter what's going on in the world, you will be okay. I think this is what's so interesting is when there's a challenge to the world and there's a sudden massive scarcity, you find out very quickly how much value you bring. Because if you're not bringing value, you're the first that gets kicked off because, oh, I can't afford you. Oh, no, I don't do that anymore, because actually it's that you're not valuable enough for me to find a way to do it. When we're adding value, people will come to us. Ms. Tania, tell us about your practice and what you're seeing and how you are working.
So I also find taking these courses has changed a lot of how I see movement, right? And because if you're in 1, 2, 3, if you're in explosion, basically you actually move differently, right? So sometimes you could make somebody, for example, feel like they're in a bungee without them being in the bungee, like they still could make their glutes work. So since I work also a lot as a personal trainer, it's changed totally how I train them as a trainer, not only the activations. So therefore they get a lot less injuries, if any. Like most of my clients are at this point pain-free, and that's because of the way I do my personal training. Or also they have, like, for example, whatever they're walking, their glute has to fire. So I don't let them do anything until they feel their glute firing. And it's not so hard to make the glute fire, or even without the bungee. So therefore they're already stronger and they're already performing better.
Well, so and the thing is, like this, in a team environment, the one thing that coaches and trainers know is that if you can keep the same players on the field, the team will win. Which basically means, can you reduce the injuries? Because every time someone's injured, it disrupts the whole team, and it disrupts obviously the play, but it disrupts the whole team. So if what you're saying is, not only have you got your clients out of pain, but with what they're doing with you, they stay out of pain. That means that they just keep improving.
Yes.
Whereas
I mean,
if every time we have an
improving.
injury, you know, it's like Monopoly. Go back to start. Do not collect $200 on the way. It's kind of, you start again and you start again, and we don't want that. And so when you can build in that the body moves well, so therefore it responds, it's more resilient in its movement, therefore it's able to bring the strength, the power, the flexibility, the endurance, speed, balance, coordination, all of those wonderful things. It allows them to perform in movement, like in a safe way. So the body goes, oh, I'm safe doing this. I wonder what else I can do.
Yes, and I guess my clients are in a way different than Josee's. My people are a lot older. So they come to me because of their injuries and their inability to perform normal things because of their injuries. So they really, really appreciate this, because not only they stay pain-free, I mean, some of them are in their 90s without a single pain. I mean, how many people could say that in their 40s, right? And on top of that, they keep getting stronger. So, and then it's like sometimes when they want to go their old ways, I get stubborn and I just say, look, I'm not going to hurt you and we're not going to do this. And they listen because they know I mean it, like they've seen it. So it's helped everything I do. It's not only, you know.
But you know what, that as well is incredibly important, because again, you've created a relationship with them that they trust you enough or so much that when you say, hey, if you're going to do that, I'm not working with you. Whoa, you're right. And that, again, that's the value element, that they can see and feel and experience what you brought to them in their world. Obviously, that's why they keep coming back, so that you can keep them staying in these great places, which is awesome. But also when they want to deviate, you're also, you know, because sometimes what happens when we've got our clients for long enough, the boundaries blur a little bit, and you start to realize that the client starts to take control of the sessions. That's what familiarity does. That's also why it's difficult treating family and friends, because there's a different dynamic that you have to constantly be aware of, that they're playing with you and they don't even realize they're doing it. So it's a big deal when you can, especially with like a long-term client, go, hey, don't step out of line. I don't have to fire you now. And they're like, whoa, Tania, sorry. Whew. Yes, let's get back on track. What do you want me to do? Good point.
Pretty much. And also, again, for not all my clients, but a lot of them, it brings them tremendous quality of life.
Yeah, but that's what comes with not fearing injury all the time. Because so your baseline filter isn't, oh my goodness, what if it goes wrong? Now it's like your system asks a different question. Wow, look what I can do. It's a very different outlook. So like having a system that you can use and trust gives you confidence, gives you joy, gives you quality of life. That's huge.
Yeah. So fun.
So what pops into my head is a conversation that we've had in Montreal on one of the trips, where there's a rumor that there are a heck of a lot of blood thinners in Montreal, as in people are on blood thinners.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. What the hell's that about?
Well, it seems to be, I guess, a recipe that is being used a lot with potential issues that could arise if the client or the patient has certain elements. So blood thinners seem to be given fairly easily. So your question is going to, what are we going to do with those people?
Well, no, because what I remember is the conversation was whether it was just us or someone in the workshop going, what do we do if people bruise? And then you'd said, just so you know, blood thinners. It's like, okay, so the chances are someone's on blood thinners, they bruise easily. That's, you know, they bump into the pillow and they get a bruise. So the reality is when you're talking to your client for the first time and you discover that they're on blood thinners, you go, all right, so because we're doing a physical, we're going to be touching, rubbing points, there is a very good chance you are going to bruise. That is not because I am jumping on you with my knee and my elbow. That is because of your blood thinners. And so you have a choice. You say, yes, we're going to do this, or no, we're not. And if you have bruises, don't come back going, oh, you bruised me. It's a very important conversation to have. It's almost like knowing that at least 50% of the people that come to see you are most likely on blood thinners.
Especially in the older generation, for sure.
Yeah.
Not you young people, but yes, definitely a conversation that I do have, because I don't want them, as you say, coming back to me the next day, or the husband or the wife, you know, seeing the bruises and wondering what the hell happened there.
Yeah. And so all it is, it's the reality of, like any game, you have to understand the rules. And if the rules of the way the game is played in Canada is there are blood thinners, then you have to be aware and be mindful of it. So you bring that into your conversations. Whereas if there's something different, it's you, like for example, in different places, we want to deal with kids differently. You know, if a kid must always have absolute clarity that they're in charge of the session. As in, not they don't get to dictate it, but anytime they are uncomfortable, they need to say stop. And we have to make sure that the space is available for them to do that. And sometimes that requires the parents not being there, but even that is a permission-based concept. And the kid has to choose, or it means the parents are there. And then you have to tell, particularly moms and dads, you actually have to tell them to sit down and shut up and not interrupt the session.
I don't work with so many kids.
Yeah.
So I don't know about Josee.
Yeah, but it's just really about strategy. It's understanding strategy on the different people that you work with, and kind of recognizing that you're going to have a different language or a different way of creating the space or engaging in the conversation to make sure that the rules are clear. Because the thing about creating safe spaces is you're creating a safe space for you too. So if in the back of your mind you're going, shit, I hope they don't bruise, and you haven't brought it up, that's unsafe. Whereas if you've gone, listen, you're on blood thinners, we're going to work, there's a good chance you're going to bruise. Are you okay with that? Yes, I'm okay with that. Please, let's go on. Then when they have a bruise, they look down, they go, oh, wow, Josee told me that was going to happen. Cool, there it is. Whereas if no conversations had, they look down and they go, oh my God. Or otherwise, as you say, their husband, their wife, they goes, oh my God, look at you. Oh, that's disgusting. Oh, that's Josee. She didn't tell me this would happen. You know, then you have problems.
And it goes with other things as well, you know, feelings that arises during the activation. You need an environment that is safe, as you say, really important. Otherwise, I find people just don't go down that, you know, the whatever you call them, the ladder down.
Rabbit hole.
Yeah. They just stay. You don't get anywhere with them if they're not safe, if they're not secure, if they don't trust you, all of that. Definitely.
Yeah, and the thing is that it's kind of like when we're talking about when we're working with the body, we're talking about meeting the tissue, whether it be with your thumb or your hand or whatever. But we're also creating that safe spaces if we can get better at that in the conversations with our clients. So we almost meet them where their fears are, where their doubts are, their vulnerabilities, and almost when you go, oh yeah, and this is likely to happen, and that was what they were thinking right now. They go, oh wow, so you know what you're talking about. And I think that's also the thing about, you guys have been doing this for quite a while now. When did I can't even think when I was first in Montreal. Was that about 2009? Maybe.
Could be.
Yeah, probably.
Could be. It's at least 10 years. I would 11 years.
I think 2000 10 maybe, somewhere around there.
Cool. Yeah, I like do all things, but you know what's so cool is that the more you do anything, it's kind of like learning to drive. When you first learn to drive, you're like, actually, hang on, you guys are the other way, so it'll be and and once you get that part right, you start being able to see more. And eventually, when you've been driving long enough, you know, you're looking around, or like me, if we do ever release my documentary of my road trip, you'll see that I'm driving it rather fast while filming, while talking, you know, while whatever. But that's what happens, and so you notice that you see more, and you recognize more things. When you first start, it's not that easy, but you guys have been doing this long enough that you start to like notice the patterns. It's almost like you're able to meet the client in their fear and doubt a lot quicker, and so so that gets addressed. So therefore you move through that that resistance, or that there's a better word, but I can't think of it. There is a better word. It's not coming to me, but and you get to that next layer a lot quicker, and that just is in your level of comfort with doing the work.
I remember the first few years, I would try to get through all the activations within that first session, and now forget it. Hey, let's get zone 1 firing, and then when that's firing, then we'll address zone 2, incorporate movement with that, as Tania was saying, and maintaining your zone 1 active, then we move on. So definitely, yes, we're
again, the funny thing is that, you know, we have those conversations on the workshops, but when people sit on the workshops, that's not the part they hear. They just hear,
no,
whoa, how do we do this? How, just go. And the thing is that it is amazing when you get your zone 1 going, how many of the problems that your client has arrived with have already started shifting and changing, and sometimes they're gone. But when we rush through the foundation, it's like building a house, and you kind of, the foundation's not that important. Yeah, good luck with that.
No.
You know, and you might be okay for a short while, but eventually your house just topples over.
I make the point that Josee made at the beginning. I was just trying to rush through everything. Like, it was unbelievable what I was trying to put in one session. And now I'm like the total opposite. Like, I spend as much time as I need on breathing. Not only that, if I give them homework, they come next time, they're not breathing properly, I just say, look, I'll do what you didn't do. So you're paying me. I'll be doing the same thing. If you want to keep coming back, I'll be doing exactly the same thing until you do your job. Otherwise, it doesn't matter to me. And they're like, a lot of them are like, okay, I'm too lazy to do it. I'm paying you to do it for me. And I'm like, okay, as long as we're clear, I'm doing exactly the same thing every time. You're not breathing too bad. I cannot do anything else for you. And they're still okay.
That is so awesomely ballsy. I love that. No, but that's it, and it's kind of so I accept that I'm going to take your money to do something that you could have done yourself. You've chosen not to.
It's a clear contract.
I'm on holiday because I don't have to think, because I'm just doing what we did last time.
And there are
when I've been playing in the billionaires club, the super duper wealthies, there was definitely a lot of that. No, I'll just pay you to do it for me. And in the end, the reason that I kind of stepped out of that was I suddenly realized, well, that's actually not what I want to do. It's great being paid a lot to do the same thing over and over, but you know, the difference for me is I've got to keep getting on airplanes for that. So it kind of, but it was like, no. This is what I'm comfortable with. And I think what I like is that you've got to get clear. I don't care what somebody does, as long as they're clear that that's what they're doing. And so I think that's clear. You're telling your clients, boop, so this is what we're going to do. And they're like, oh, yeah, sure. No, I'd rather you do it for me. Okay, sweet.
Yeah, I don't work with billionaires, so eventually they get the message. They're not.
No, but it's amazing the kind of conversations that I've had. You know, it's when I'm kind of releasing myself, I would say firing my client, but I'm releasing myself from my client. It's amazing when someone has billions, they literally look at you and go, am I not paying you enough? And I'm like, oh, you're paying me well. Then you must come back. No, I'll double what I'm paying you. No, you missed the point. I'd love to take your money. But that's not what I'm here to do. Because in my case there, to get on a plane and do that stuff stopped me from being, like, let's say, teaching. So I was doing less teaching because I was getting paid even better working with a group of people with a lot of money. Some really good people there and some wonderful things. But at the same time, also, it's like, it's too easy for them to just pay someone to do. Hey, do this. Come do this every day. No. But I think,
and one thing I realize as well is that, especially on the Facebook format, where everybody always asks question, and there are no recipes. And I find people come, you know, they come to you expecting like, oh, she's going to do that, and then everything will be done. But you have to do the work. There's no recipes. There's no trying to figure out, you know, you just do the work that you should be doing, and you'll see that you will improve.
Yeah.
So
I think you're right there. People are looking for recipes because, listen, that's what frustrated the crap out of me with my physio. We literally learned recipes. And if you deviated from the recipe in your exams, you got penalized. And I remember doing one exam in my final year in ICU, and I'm trying to think, they weren't on a ventilator, but they were in ICU, and their oxygen saturation was really bad, like 89%. And I did some of the stuff we were taught, and I did something that I had learned, and I don't even know what it was, because it wasn't activation, because I was a student then. And at the end, the oxygen saturation was at 96%. Okay, so that was significant, especially for someone in ICU.
Mm-hmm.
But the two, I would love to mention their names because those are things you remember. the two practitioners, teachers who were marking, basically were like, you didn't do this, and I got like a 40% or whatever it was. It was like I was on the edge of failing. And yet the nurse at the end comes and says, wow, what did you do? This lady, because that to me is what was important. And it's kind of, it's because they wanted the recipe, but the recipe wasn't what this person lying in the hospital bed in the ICU needed. They needed something else. And so it's kind of trying to get people to realize that the outcomes that's what we're looking for. That's the goal of the game. And so, like Tania, with what you'd said, is that, you know, your client's quality of life improves. I promise you, if someone says, well, if you come for sessions here and your quality of life, if we did a baseline and you said, like, how happy are you? I'm a 4 out of 10. How do you feel about what you can do in the world function wise? I'm a 3 out of 10. I'm actually struggling because there are more and more things I can't do every day. Well, that's a shitty place, and that's an imploded world, and you're getting stuck. And then someone comes to you and you kind of meet them there, and I say, I hear that, like, almost diminishing returns, and I hear that your joy is quite low, but your body's quite amazing. And when we start to wake it up, it's probably going to allow you to do more and feel more, and it's almost like you grow your capacity of what you can do and what you can feel. And so 3-4 weeks after coming for sessions with you, you have that same conversation. So, how do you feel? What's your level of joy? Oh, wow, I'm about a 7 now. It's quite amazing. Actually, I've started noticing actually the really cool things. I was going to say that like the sunrise was beautiful, but you guys would be noticing the snow at this point, wouldn't you?
We still have sunrises.
Oh, you still have sunrise?
Yeah, believe it or not, we do.
but people start to notice, and functionally, well, you know what? Like 4 weeks ago, I think I was about a 3. These are all the things that I can do. You know, it's funny. I'm name dropping, but it's important because it came up in a conversation yesterday. But when I worked with Sean Connery in the Bahamas, when we went back the second day, he was like, look, look, look. And he was putting on his socks and his shoes. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. He goes, no, 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 no. Don't you remember I couldn't do that yesterday because my body was so locked up? And there was a joy in being able to put your socks on. And if you don't have a problem with putting your socks on, you're not even going to think it's a problem. But if you can't put your own socks on, it's a problem. And so like that's someone like doing game changer. It's funky.
Absolutely, for sure. Absolutely, for sure. Like imagine you're walking with a brace because your foot is dragging. You know, they put those braces when you don't have dorsiflexion.
Yeah.
And now you're walking. Nobody even know you ever had a brace when you were told that would never change, right? The only way to change it is through surgery. So imagine that.
Yeah, and in the surgery, we're just going to fuse it. Don't
Yes.
forget it's that's the part that comes with it. You know,
Yeah. So actually, funny story. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry to say. Funny story.
Yeah.
That person gave me as a Christmas gift, among other things, a box of Kleenex, because we do activations and tears would just come out of her eyes. But it's not like it wasn't
crying joy as you were working.
No, she was. I don't even know. Right. I don't do that many activations on her anymore. We also work a lot, but I always do activations on her because whatever. Long story, but she has very limited mobility in that one particular leg. Now she just lies down, takes her Kleenex, that doesn't even think. And she's not even crying.
What was the song that there's a song, give it to me, baby. I'm just gonna lie here with my Kleenex, I'm ready.
Yeah, practically yes, but then again, it's an amazing difference in her quality of life. I mean, people are seeing that her hands are not shaking anymore because she used to play bridge, and they have to bring her the tea from wherever to her table because she couldn't carry her tea, right? With the brace and with the hip dislocating when she's walking. Now she walks like a normal person and brings her own tea. I mean, this is quality of life, right?
That's outstanding.
And people are noticing that.
Well, we had a beautiful one that drove our Parkinsons trial, actually. Someone that Sue was working with. And so he had dyskinesia. So the Parkinsons, that's like constantly the movement and could never settle. And in their initial doing stuff, Teletubby point stopped him immediately. So what was discovered was that he could now drink a glass of red wine without spilling, which he hadn't been able to do for a very long time. So now his dinner parties, everyone holds on their head and drinks their wine with him like that. and you go, what? And someone clever, because I don't know about you guys, but I ain't clever. Someone clever would go, yes, but what's the mechanism? Can you prove that that's really happened? I don't really give a shit. He's drinking wine, you know. And so he was actually, Neil was actually the one that funded our Parkinson's study in February last year. So we because it was such a big impact on his world, and what we discovered that there was a point here, but we can take that same principle into other areas of his body and create a stillness in his body for half an hour. And you know, and you go, okay, it's cool. So we found something works. Excellent. What else can we do with that? Not, oh, now I need to sit back and intellectualize and try and figure out exactly why that works. There are many theories, like with all the points, there are many theories on what it could be or what, but what it is that's what his body needed in order to go calm. Mm-hmm. Funky. So Josee, you joined me in my new film studio in my garage. I just painted a wall actually. For, for the Hack 2021. Tell me what you thought. Because obviously it was about the activation tool, the bungee. You know the bungee well. The activation tool was new. I've been excited about it. The reason why I've excited was because it made a difference for me. That's all I've ever got to go on. What was cool is out of the 60 people we had on the live call, probably about 25 have emailed going, wow, this is what changed for me. So that for me was a woohoo. What did you get from it?
Love the tool. What did I love the tool. I think it's, I've lended it to a client that was in crisis last week. And when she's in crisis, her whole life, her whole family becomes in crisis. So I just said, okay, you know what, do your activations with that. Let's go back in the bungee, and definitely made a huge difference. You just get deeper, which is nice. By itself for the last 8 years or so, as I find the stick as well was you could get deeper for the psoas, and but now with those little balls attached makes a huge difference. I do agree.
It does, doesn't it? Cool. Yeah, that's really it's kind of amazing that it's all just about how do we help the body drop into a better place? How do we meet it better, and how do we create tools? And I think some people can't do it with their hands as effectively, and I think that's what was cool for me when I found it. Like, I was reading the instructions and I'm like, what, they want me to do what with this? And that's because they were using it in a classic like physio method. And then I'm like, yes, I need to try this our way, and how quickly the game changes.
And sometimes bringing this client in particular was my first guinea pig. I worked on her. I said, you're my canvas. I want to try this on you. And wow, we've gone through quite the journey together. But I think bringing a new tool made her kind of like it more. It was almost like a renewed like for it. And as you had said during the course, activate with a purpose. Yeah. And I think we do that. We kind of go through, even as a therapist, even as you do work on your clients, you have to have a purpose. So I kind of, taught her that as well. So definitely great tool.
Yeah, and just for anyone who's listening and isn't quite sure what we're talking about. So what happens is, I think when I used to lecture for Reebok, we used to be at the Virgin Active gym, a huge gym in Sea Point. It was called The Point. And from the studio that I would lecture, across there were all the stationary bikes. And there you'd see men and women sitting on their bikes, reading a book, reading a newspaper, staring at the TV. And I would always say, I was training personal trainers then for Reebok. And I would say, tell me, what is the physiological benefit of what they are getting from what they're doing? And they'd be going, well, it depends on the intensity and the calorie. I said, no, the benefit is nothing, because your mindfulness and your awareness in anything that you do is where you build the skill and where you bring in the physiological gains and changes. So when your client says, oh no, I'm just going to lie here and you do stuff to me, that's already a problem. That's why, it's a joke. I never stop talking. That the reason is my client has to be engaged in the process that they're going through, because it's their neural system we're connecting, not mine. And so it's kind of, sometimes what happens is we get into the habit and the routine of activation where we're just doing it because it's the next thing we've got to do on our list. Rub here. Okay, that's cool. But we're not actually being mindful of ourselves and having a purpose, having a, if someone's doing it, like I'm about to walk up the mountain. So I'm going to take 5 minutes before I walk up the mountain so that I walk with a strength and a comfort, and I have endurance. There's a good enough purpose for that moment. But if you are dealing with stress and you're a stress environment, your purpose may be, okay, so I'm doing this activation so that I can connect in with my body, be more resilient and stronger in those stress situations, that I stay in myself. and you're priming your mind and your body to be prepared for the environments that you're going into. And when you start doing that, the depth of the activations and the influence that it has becomes far more powerful. But I think what I realized was that I was watching people do stuff and hearing, and people were just rubbing, and I think that's often the challenge is people just think, oh, it's just rubbing points. And sometimes if you just rub the points, it makes a difference. But when you start to add the awareness in, and the mindfulness and the purpose, it just adds, and it becomes a kind of an exponential growth curve of what can be achieved.
Definitely deeper activations. Just to go back to this client, I had texts every 2 days. Oh, I'm really not doing well. I'm really not doing that. And then after she played with the new toy, I didn't hear from her for a week. So then I sent a text thinking, what's going on? And I'm like 100% better. So proves to you,
Nice. And here's the interesting thing. How good does that feel, knowing that she can go 100% better, and the energy and the effort that you required was you gave her the skills and a tool?
Correct.
So you didn't even do the work.
Nothing.
So somehow that almost feeds into, remember we were saying at the start, like you go renovate your house and you finish a task and you go tick, and somehow you just push your chest out a little bit more, like ha ha ha. There's something for me, there's something when I've given someone advice or I've sent them a tool or whatever, and they go, wow, that's amazing. That gives me that little, that's so cool. Why? Because I didn't have to put in the energy and the effort of hands-on making sure. So the completed thing is an empowered person who knows how to take care of themselves.
It's empowering for both. It's empowering for both. It's empowering for the client thinking, wow, I really didn't need her. I have it within me to do it.
Yeah.
That to me, that's the ultimate goal.
You what? Go away, everyone. Don't need me.
I'm done.
What do you think about that, Tania?
It's definitely this always people who need you. So it's definitely empowering to kind of freedom.
Yeah.
And
there are always going to be people that need you. It's like if anyone's afraid of like, but if everyone gets better, they won't need me. Oh, trust me, there are a million kabillion people out there that desperately need you.
Exactly. Not only that, they'll send you a lot more people. Yeah. Which is more fun. You don't want to be stuck to the same person forever, right?
Absolutely. Oh my God, no.
Yeah. And
sorry, Douglas, you're stuck with us.
Yeah, but the thing is, you're okay. It's like you empower your clients to tell people about what you do. So if I educate you well enough, you will tell people, and they will intrigue new people, and they will drag them in, and your business keeps going. It's kind of, and that's the thing. So almost like a very long time ago, when I qualified, I first went over to work in the UK, and I had to come back for a while, and I was locuming in different practices. And one of the practices that I worked in, it was insane. This physio had her clients on a 3-month cycle. So basically she'd do 3 to 4 sessions, get them better, and in 3 months' time, they'd be back for the next 3 to 4 sessions. And so I realized quite quickly that her business was a very small number of people who were on a treadmill. And again, I wasn't doing activation yet, but I've always been weird and wacky, and I'm a believer in finding solutions to problems, not band-aids to just to hide them. And I think in her practice, I was seeing, I don't know, I'm going to suck a number, 12 clients a day, let's say. And when she came back from her 3-week holiday, her entire diary had 3 people in it.
Oh.
and it was beautiful because she was so angry, and I'm going to sue you. I said, please do, because I would like to tell someone about how you run your practice. But you know what? I'd locumed in 6 different practices in that time period, and only one, the goal was to get the client so good that they didn't need to come back. The other 5, it was a different type of keep them in the cycle. And I know there are training systems out there, there are many of them, that teach you how many clients you need to have a business that's sustainable for life. And so it's almost like, and they teach you how to get the clients in and keep them there. On a certain level, they are doing good work. And we're not chasing people away and saying, look, once we've got you there, never come back. You're allowed to have your clients on repeat. But the goal is to empower the client to take care of as much of that themselves as possible. Because otherwise we're from a scarcity model, which is an imploding model, which is exactly the opposite of what we're teaching them their body is capable of doing.
I think that once you create value for people, you'll always be valuable no matter what, right? Like it ultimately comes to that.
Yeah, no, you're spot on, and that's the thing. And people are learning what real value is versus, like, you know, a nice to have versus a have to have. And I think there's a lot of I don't want to say waking up, because that's got its own connotations these days. Every term's changed meaning, but like people are becoming more discerning on what's important to them. And so when you're adding value, that the discerning client is choosing to come to you guys because of the value add, that it's, you know, and yes, your government's just throwing money at you and all of that. Some places it's not happening. And so people are on limited budgets, and they're stopping this and they're stopping that. And so they're really choosing wisely where they put their money, who they give it to. So that value add is a big deal. So, Tania, tell me something funny that's happened in your world of activation. Because we know we get funny. We also get funny things happening.
Just 1 second. I need to just put the phone away because it's ringing. Sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry. Look, I don't know. I don't have a concrete example right now, but I think doing activations in a way, it's always funny.
Oh, I know it is. Because you see, I know that you have 100 stories in there. Both of you.
I don't know how public they could become.
I know.
Okay, I'll tell you something minor. Let's say, because a lot of the people that come to me are referral, like friend to friend, husband to wife, and stuff like that, relative. So, I mean, if you at the beginning, some people were questioning it. Now they know I'm joking, but I would basically say, look, your friend, I'm not sure how much they like you, because they told me, like, the more you scream and the more bruises you get, they'll double my pay if I bring you to that point.
I love
it. So, but to me, it's funny because also it kind of, not that they believe it, but at the beginning you could see they're questioning, but that kind of puts their guard down, and then they kind of be a little more relaxed. So
nice. Well, the thing is, you know, I love it when someone says, is this going to hurt? I'll always go, yeah, more than you've ever experienced before. You might even die. And they'll be like, looking at you like, what? And so if you try and meet their serious fear with a serious answer, well, you guys are just going to go in circles. I think your strategy is awesome.
Yeah,
'Cause
so
you
it's
actually
so
disarm them with kind of, it's almost reminding them that somebody sent you here. I'd even say, so Tom sent you here. Is he actually your friend? And they go, well, what do you mean? Well, I'm about to hurt you real bad. And he said he would double if so I
yeah.
just want to check if he's really your friend or not.
Yeah, or yeah, especially it's even more fun between husband and wife, right?
Ah,
And
yes,
like,
of course.
you look, yeah, it's like, look, she's told me a few personal things, and she'd be happy if I hurt you even more. So are you sure you want to be here?
Oh, I'd like it. Josee, you have any of those?
Any of those?
Oh, like the crazy funny ones, you know. And I don't know, like you guys, if you watch the interviews, I've not asked this. It's just like anything. We're having conversation. It's what pops up.
It's funny because when you started talking about that, it made me think of a client, and she put me in a position where she used to be such a proper lady. You never thought things would come out of her mouth, and as I'm working on her, she says, "Oh, I have to tell you this thing. You know, Fred and I'm going to leave it that way. Don't want anybody to know names. You know, we were in our bedroom, and our son came home, and I was, I had to hold on because Fred was good." So she's telling me all her story about her sexual encounter. And I'm like, oh my God, So to me, that was so funny. So she thanked me. She thanked me that her life has changed in that respect as well. So to me, that was the first thing that came to mind about a funny thing.
Well,
But funny thing, people.
It comes up. I remember one of the South African physios coming on a level 2 and telling a story about she was working with a guy in the wards that had chronic obstructive airways disease, and it turned out, funnily enough, that he also had an erectile dysfunction, which is not why he was in hospital. But they did such good work that day on opening his chest and opening his system that when he woke up in the morning, there was life down below. And he literally ran around the ward in his gown with this wild little erection going. And they were like, the nurses were trying to get him back into his room. And he's like, you don't get it. This has not done this for 10 years. And she's like, oh, God. The body is the body, and everything that happens, and everything that doesn't happen is physiological. And so there's a priority system, and that guy's not part of your survival priority. So if you need all the energy and the effort to survive, just to breathe, that's far down the list. But if suddenly your breathing wakes up, other things wake up too.
Little oxygen does wonders.
A little oxygen does wonders. Yeah, no, I went through a phase in one of my practices where probably, and it's quite amazing actually that a guy would share this, because I'd worked with a gentleman, and he'd had problems and like he'd back pain or whatever, but there was a big change, and next minute I got a whole lot of his friends phoning me, and they'd be going, I have back pain. I wonder if you can help. And I'm like, what's back pain? And in 5 minutes in, they'd be going, actually, this little guy down here doesn't work. Can you help? And it's like, maybe. The body's physiology, we don't know. And if we put these things in place, but it was weird because, somebody has the response, and guys tend not to share. So this is quite a big thing that he shared. And it was about 5 men of his circle that all came. And I'm like, wow, this is like, this isn't really what I want to be known for as what I do. but it is just the phase of what I'm working with at this point. It's one of those things. It's like if we clear, it's all just physiology.
Yeah.
Funky.